I'd like to start the meeting of the Leavenworth County Commission. I'd like to invite everyone to stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For the record, all three commissioners are present. I'd like to start with public comment. Anyone from the public wishing to speak, please come forward, state your name and address. Seeing none, we'll move on to administrative business. Mark, David, do we have any administrative business?
I'd just like to update the board real quick. Last week I wrapped up most of my department monthly meetings, went out on site to some of the different departments. Just to appreciate the time the department head spent, kind of going over some of their operations, introducing me to some of their staff. Got to go out and see a couple of the public works projects that are underway, and which is pretty impressive. And I'm glad I went before we had the 4 inches of rain, so I didn't ruin my shoes. But those went really well. Had some good conversations, and we'll continue those on a monthly basis with all departments.
Okay, thanks for doing that. I think that's a pretty important part. Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, good morning. I do have one administrative matter. As your duty as fence viewers, you need to assign individuals to conduct the viewing of a fence between 2 pieces of property. The allegation is that a herd of goats is not being properly prevented from entering a field of cattle.
Didn't we do this one already?
I do not believe this one has been done.
I thought we did one down on Loring Road there.
No, that was done earlier last year.
Oh, this would have been...
This letter is dated July 28, 2017.
I know, but the property looks familiar to one we've done before.
You may have done it before, but you're receiving a new request for a new fence viewing.
Okay.
By law, the 3 of you are charged with fence viewing. You may assign that responsibility.
Yeah. I mean, it's 3rd district, so I'd be glad to do that. And I think it's kind of important we have the county surveyor on that team.
David, he always likes to do it.
Commissioner, I would be more than happy to attend.
No, I was just kidding, David. You got the worst one already.
Well, didn't you have some list of names that you had that was kind of had some experience in agriculture?
I did.
Do you have?
I don't have them with me,
Well,
but
I mean,
I do.
Would you like to come up with somebody?
I think Mark Buchanan has experience with fencing and cattle
Okay.
and that kind of thing.
So we just need 3.
And I apologize. In my absence, you may have adopted a different policy, but we do.
Not yet. We have not. We're still working on fence standards.
I think there was a fence viewing policy.
Oh, yeah, but as far as fence standards, we have not adopted that yet.
If you'd like to appoint a standing panel of fence viewers, you would certainly do so.
Well, do commissioners agree that maybe the county surveyor should be on that team? And then, like I said, I'll do it. It's in my district, and if Commissioner Holland has somebody with some experience.
The only thing I think about of having Wayne being on that committee, and I don't object to him, but he is a 1-person office, and he's got a lot of work, and I think putting this burden on him will make it even harder for him to do something.
Okay. Does David
Mark,
have any opinion on this? David Lujan?
Yeah, he's,
I mean, you're talking a couple hours time, so I think Wayne will be able to do it if you want.
Okay.
all right.
I mean, if he's too busy, all he needs to do is tell us. Was that okay?
Yeah,
And then you mentioned Mark Buchanan.
Mark Buchanan. Also, someone else would be Jeff Culbertson.
Doug, you
Okay.
be there. We have 3 with Mark Buchanan for this one.
Yeah. We
Okay.
put Jeff Culbertson down as an alternative or something.
Okay, in case Mark can't do it.
Yeah.
All right. Is that okay? You'll set up a date?
I'll make the arrangements, Commissioner.
All right, thank you. That property sure looks familiar, and it doesn't matter, I guess, even if we did it before, it's, things change. But wouldn't that be filed at the Register of Deeds if we did a fence viewing?
Your findings are filed with the Register of Deeds and are then enforceable through district court actions.
Okay. All right.
You're supposed to view them one time.
Okay, but it sure looks familiar, that property does. I mean, I might be wrong.
No, I don't think you're wrong, but.
You think we've done it before?
I think we have.
Okay.
But, I don't wish to remember all these fence viewings.
Well, all right, well,
I find that the fence viewings are important, but I also find that people, once they think that because we do a fence viewing and assign certain criteria to the fence viewing, and this neighbor's got a great fence and there's nothing wrong with his fence, so this person has got a fence that this high off the ground. He still won't do it. We did a fence viewing and he just more or less thumbed his nose at us. And that's where people don't want to take the extra step and take him to district court.
Commissioners, you have the duty to conduct a fence viewing, but it's up to the parties to enforce your findings. And I would like to stress a fence viewing is not a boundary dispute resolution.
okay. Yep. And pretty much you just follow the guidelines that the state has per state statute on a legal fence.
But,
And that's not much.
and that's not much. That's what I was getting ready to say. I think we need to really look at the standards that the state set, because if you go by the standards, some people can keep their cattle in by those standards. A lot of people can't, and especially if they've got are overgrazing the property. I was at a friend's house last night. He said, "Oh, this guy's got 10 acres up here of pasture, and the rest of his 20-acre is the house and a hayfield." And I said, "Well, my word, how many horses does he have over there?" And he says, "He's got 11 horses on there." Well, the pasture looks just like the top of that counter.
Hope you got plenty of hay then off that hayfield.
Help he feeds some hay.
Yeah. Okay, set it up, and we'll be there.
You'll receive a report.
Okay, thank you, David. Anything else?
Nothing at this time.
I do have some questions on some of the things that when I was gone.
Okay. On the minutes?
July 24th, 2017.
I don't have the minutes with me, but I'll remember.
Well, I'm sure you're going to remember. A motion was made by Commissioner Smith and a second by Commissioner Graber to contribute $10,000 to Sewer District 3. What my question is, of course, I would have voted no if I was here, and because I think this issue has been put to bed and should have been put to bed. I kind of think that, and I don't want to speak for him, but I think there's people in this room that think that it should have been put to bed and was. My problem is, it's just like the industrial park. We almost got ourselves in a big barrel of mess. It was a mess because we were trying to give $5 million to the Port Authority to develop an industrial park. You cannot give money to a private entity. How are we going to give $10,000 to Sewer District 3?
And we're going to have a public hearing on that, and we can discuss that then. And if it's legal, we can. If it's not legal, if it's something illegal, we can.
Okay.
And that's
I
what
just
the
wanted to
public
bring that
hearing's for.
again to the board because I deem it as being illegal, and I'm not an attorney, don't claim to be.
But they give 20,000 3 different times.
That's what I want to know.
Okay, well, we'll
How
we'll
we
get
did
into
that.
that on the public hearing.
Okay.
Okay, because
the next
money
thing-
hadn't transferred or anything.
Okay, good. The next thing, I was going through the minutes of July the 27th, and I read them over several times, and I noticed a planning and zoning case, consideration for renewal of a special use permit, Superior Wood Products. A motion was made by Commissioner Graber and a second by Commissioner Smith. The applicant, Roger White, requested a 10-year permit, but Commissioner Graber evidently gave him a 15-year permit. Is that correct?
A what?
A 15-year permit.
He'd been, yes, he'd been in business 15 years and he just wanted 15. I
Well-
think the commission's thought on that is we can pull these special use permits at any time for any violation.
Well, I was always told by Commissioner Graber for years that it's not that easy to do. Once you give someone a special use permit, they build a building or do whatever, that it's very difficult to take that special use. You're going to have to go to court, and I just think that 15 years, that's the 10 years, I think, is, if planning and zoning were here, I think they would agree with me that 10 years is our maximum of what we usually do. That's kind of the criteria that has been set up for years as the maximum that we go. And I just wondered why the board thought that a 15-year subject to these conditions, I don't
I think
understand.
the thought was he's been in business 15 years, no complaints, no violations, everything was good, and he planned to be in business for 15 more years before he retires.
Well, I agree with Commissioner Holland on this one matter. Once you issue a special use permit, it's the devil to get it back.
That's right.
But this guy has operated well. He had no
And I-
complaints about him whatsoever.
Yeah, I understand that. I kind of looked it up, and he's been a good citizen, a good business owner. But I just, I think 15 years, pretty soon, what do we need him for? I mean, just give him a permit and say, go ahead and do your business. Next question I got is about planning and zoning case number DEV-17067. It was consideration for a special use permit for a home daycare sowing seeds. I know what home daycare is, but I don't know what sowing seeds is.
That's the name
That's just the
Is
name.
that just the name of the
Yeah.
business? Okay.
Yeah.
So it basically is a home daycare center. Ashley Meyer requested a 10-year permit, but yet you only gave her 5. But yet,
She's not a renewal, she's a new, just starting out.
but I don't think you see the a home daycare. That's daycare in the home. This gentleman back here is a wood product shop. So I just don't understand why she wasn't given some kind of consideration, because is she not a good person, or
It was a first-time applicant, it's not a renewal. And like I said, if she comes back or this person comes back in 5 years with no complaints and no violations, I think 10 years would be appropriate.
okay. Just wanted to clarify those two.
Okay. I mean, that particular case was in a subdivision, and I guess my concern was, neighbors could end up complaining because of the traffic in a subdivision on that.
But I noticed there was no one that was
Well,
against
but the
this.
business hasn't started yet.
Yeah,
I mean, that's when you really know what to expect.
I
with a
agree,
business.
but I think if somebody didn't want it in that subdivision, they would have come up here and spoke. But
And
anyway.
they probably don't know the impact of it, and we don't know the impact of it either until the business actually gets going. So,
Okay,
is that all your concerns?
yes.
All right, motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second, voting?
Aye.
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 Okay. I got some OCBs. I'd like to have a
Motion to approve those.
I move that we approve the OCBs and authorize the chairman to sign and date the same.
Would you second that?
Second.
Voting?
Aye.
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 All right, we're ready for Human Resource and Blue Cross Blue Shield renewal.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tamara Copeland, HR. I have 2 insurance agreements to get approved today, hopefully. The first one I'd like to start with is the Delta Dental. It's the easier of the 2. Attached, you'll see that there's a 2017 renewal for Delta Dental. This is the 3rd and final year for this agreement. It does have a 5% rate cap, and that's part of the contractual terms. So this is just a renewal for that piece, but if we would like to continue on with them for another 3-year contract, they have offered that as part of this deal. And what they're offering is a 3% cap for next year, which usually it is a 5% cap, so that's a better deal for us. And then the 3rd year would be a 5% again. So they are offering that along with a regular renewal. If we do nothing but just turn in the renewal, it will be to today's rate that's quoted here. But if we sign the agreement and send it back in, we are committing to another 3-year agreement where we get a locked-in 3% cap and a 5% cap, which is a better deal for the county. Delta is one of the better dentals that we have. Most people are very happy with that. And so if you have any questions on that, if not, I'm hoping that we can get a motion to approve the Delta Dental renewal agreement that includes the 3-year agreement and allow the chairman to sign on behalf of the board.
Mark, do you have any concerns with that?
I've reviewed it, and Delta is the largest dental insurance
Yeah.
provider.
We've had it for years.
use it. I've compared this rate with Delta Dental to actually a couple of other rates with Delta Dental for other entities, and it's still favorable even with the increases. We're still well below, and the total cost for an employee is $25.40 a month. So I mean, it's a pretty favorable rate.
Okay. You good with that, Commissioner?
Motion, yeah, I'm good. Dental Dental's been, since I've been here, they've been.
Tamara, you have a proposed contract guaranteeing that too?
Yes, they provided that as part of this deal that we can sign today that would lock in 3% for next year and 5% for the following year, which is a 2% savings from
Okay.
our previous.
Mark, have you had a chance to review that?
Yes, I have.
And legal has also reviewed it. I had David look over
Okay.
both of them.
So is that your motion?
Yeah, motion to approve.
Second.
Voting?
Aye.
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 And then the next one is the Blue Cross Blue Shield renewal. And this agreement reflects a 7.4% increase. This is a little bit lower than what we originally expected, which is good, thanks to Haya Reed and Riley going back and working with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. We did end up at the last minute going out for an RFP, and 6 companies did respond. Blue Cross and Blue Shield had the most value for the services offered, so that's why we would like to continue with them. They are offering also an additional plan this year, which we had not offered before. Employees, when surveying employees a while back, they did ask to see if we could come up with a high deductible plan. And so Mark and I worked with the insurance company, and they were able to put together an alternative plan. So we do have another plan to also look at this year for employees. And what we did last year was we budgeted about $6,500 per full-time and $5,700 per part-time employee. This year, after speaking with the administrator and clerk, we wanted to up that amount because insurance has been rising quite significantly, and we want to make sure we have enough in our budget to cover everything. So we raised it from $7,500 to $7,500 per person for full-time and $6,500 per part-time. It does require some premium changes. We try to keep them minor for the employees because this is a big expense. But due to the rising costs, we did have to make some slight changes. For the single base plan and the family base plan, we are able to keep the rates flat for the employees, and the county will pick up the increased cost. For the single buy-up, it's a slight change for the employees. It's less than $1 who select that option, and then the county is picking up the difference for that one. Where we're seeing the increases on the family buy-up plan, this is a richer plan for employees, and so the county will be covering its normal cost of what it paid last year, but the employee would have to pick up the increased cost for that richer plan. So that's the one plan that's most impacted by the changes this year. Otherwise, we're able to keep it flat for the employees. Then we also have the alternative single plan option that employees can take advantage of, and this one we can offer at 100% coverage for the employee. So they would pay nothing for that particular policy if they have the single base. If they chose the alternate family plan, that would be a 75% cost for the employer and 25% for the employee. So the county would be saving about $635 annually, and the employee would save about $1,470 per year if they selected that plan. But it is a high deductible plan. You know, the coverage isn't as good, but there are some people out there that were interested in that particular type of a plan, so we are able to offer that this year. Overall, we've got the overall cost about $2.5 million. The county pays about $1.9 million of that, and the employees pay about $518,000 of that. So we're seeing about an increase of $173,000 this year for that 7.4%. We already have this budgeted. The clerk, administrator, and I have already worked out the math on that. We've got plenty enough money to cover this. So we're asking today if we can get this approved so that we can move forward with our insurances and finalize things.
So how much money per month does the county put toward a family plan?
Towards a family plan, so for example, the one that we use the most often is the family base plan. So the county was paying $820 per month per family plan. This year it will pay $947.27 for that same plan. We're taking the increase in cost so we can keep it flat for the employee. The employee pays $420, and they're going to pay $420 again this year.
Okay.
And we've actually kept that, you know, that percent is 69.31% this year, which is better than last year's percent, which was 66.34%. So we're actually reducing the percent for the employee.
And now how much are we paying for a single plan?
For the single plan, so the single base, which is the most popular one that we have, last year we paid $495. This year we'll pay $524 for that same exact plan. The employee will still pay only $50.
Okay. I have a problem with not everybody getting the same benefit. I mean, you're giving more money to an employee because they have the family plan. I just think it should be across the board. This is your benefit amount. Use it toward health insurance, dental insurance, whatever.
And that's kind of what we do. We allot an amount, and the allotted amount for an employee would be $524.69. They can use it any way that they see fit, whether it's on a single plan, a high deductible plan, or a family plan. They can use that same dollar amount. They can also choose their different options. Some will put all the money towards a family plan and then not do the dental or the vision, and they save money doing that. There's different ways that they can kind of build the package of what they do. Typically for insurances, the coverage is 70-30. We're trying to get there. We're not quite there on our family plan of doing at least 70-30 split. And that, like I said, that's kind of the average for most larger companies, is that they pay 70%, the employee pays 30%. Some do that across the board. Some give a better plan to the single option because it costs the county less money.
Right. Well, I'm just saying it just looks uneven when one employee gets $947 a month toward their benefit and the next employee gets $524.
And that's just because of the cost of the plans. It's so much more expensive to do a family plan because it's unlimited for the number of dependents that can be on that plan.
But we're covering an employee, not their, the family doesn't work here.
Well, no, the
That's why
family
we're trying
doesn't
to-
work here, but the family gets benefit.
It does, but why can't we have an amount that would cover 100% of a single, even on the buy-up?
We had that, and then we changed it. I think Clyde was involved in that, and we agreed that the single plan should pay something. And by paying that something, that money went to the family plan. And
So
To help
the
reduce-
singles are subsidizing other people's family.
Not necessarily. Most single plans, there are very few plans that pay 100% anymore. It's just
Right.
really
And that's
unheard
why,
of.
that's the reason we did it.
That's why, and with the costs continuing to rise like they are, we went with the $50, which is a $25 per pay period, that most people could afford. Insurance is never fun to pay for, but asking somebody to pay $50 towards their health insurance is minimal for a single plan. If we did the split 70-30, they're going to pay a lot more for that same plan, for that
Yeah,
single
but-
plan.
You're saying private companies, that's kind of their plan. We're government. But
Well,
just
I'm looking
saying,
at governments,
you're-
all
you're giving-
governments.
You're giving a person that takes a family plan $400 more a month toward their benefit than the single person who probably works right beside the same person. I mean, you're.
I agree, but
But if you did, say for example, you did $1,000, so just to say a flat amount, $1,000, and we're going to give every employee $1,000 to put towards their health. Well, if they only needed the single base, they would not need that full $1,000.
That's right. And
That's why-
Then we could figure that out. You know how many singles there are, you know how many families there are, and you use your funds to adjust the rates. But I think you should pay 100% of a single and allow them to do the buy-up and everything instead of making them go to a high deductible so they don't have to pay anything. I just think the
That's-
employees should have a benefit money amount, and that's it across the board.
Which that's not a big impact to the county to do that for the singles, but it is a huge impact to the employee if you remove that from the family. Because what you're talking about is we budget we'll just say $530 to round it up for an employee's health coverage, period. Family, no family, $530, which means then the employees that have the families, because we have been subsidizing it forever, would have to come up with about $417 a month out of their pocket, which they aren't right now.
I look at the singles are subsidizing it.
Well, the singles aren't subsidizing much at $50, and even if, like I said,
They are
even if you-
subsidizing though.
even
That
if you-
$50
if you take
goes
the
toward the
$50 off,
benefit.
the $417 that you're talking about for your families, your employees who have families are gonna have to start picking up, which they weren't before. It's a pretty significant hit for those, and that's roughly half.
I think that's why we did it.
Well,
because-
I know why we did it, because its families couldn't afford it, but at the
Right.
same time, you're asking the singles to subsidize other people's families.
Not necessarily. We are actually trying to bring things more to an industry standard. Like I said before, most family government plans are 70-30. County pays 70, employee pays 30. That's what we're trying to get to. We're not quite there yet. But for the single rates, a lot of times they have to pay a minimum amount. A lot of times what we see in a lot of different counties and cities is it's a minimal amount, like $25 per pay period or $50 a month. Some it's more, some it's less. There's not too many that do a 0%. It's wonderful if you can do that. It's just it gets very expensive and costly overall when you're looking at the big picture long term. So we were trying to get to a place where we would have a small flat amount for the single plan, so it wouldn't overly burden our single rated plans, because we have approximately 159. We anticipate it might go to 180. But if we took that $50 away per person based on the number that we have, I just did some quick math here, we're probably looking at about $8,000 a month times 12, so you're looking at close to around $80,000 per year. That would be an increase to the county to cover that per month if we took away the $50. So that's kind of what you're looking at if you want to decide to take that away, is we'd have to come up with another $80,000 approximately to cover that.
I don't think that's what's being proposed. I think what's being discussed.
Oh, I'm not proposing anything.
What's being
I'm just.
discussed is that the family plan would increase to offset the.
No, I didn't say that either. I didn't know it. Like you said, she threw out a number there. Are funds available?
Well, Chairman, I understand what you're saying. On this particular issue, I just can't concur with you. I mean, we've got a lot of employees out there that have children,
Oh, I understand that.
and they can't afford that. And we tried to do this as a way to support, I'm going to get in deep trouble here, support.
No.
I'm going to get in it with you because I totally agree what you're about to say, I think.
Well, is supporting mothers that have these children.
Right.
And I understand the problem, but it's something that I think we're doing, and in a
No,
way,
I
I'm really-
agree. I agree with the 75% of a family plan. I agree with that. But you've got 159 on the single base, and then 72 singles on the buy-up.
Right.
And then your family base, you got 34, and your family buy-up, you got 31. So the singles are subsidizing the families. No, I don't care how you look at it.
It is
The
a,
singles are buying a portion of their health insurance, which certainly was a change from what it was, I think, 2 or 3 years
2 or
ago.
3 years ago when we.
Oh,
did
I
this.
know. I understand.
And
I
if you
totally
think, if you
understand,
think
but-
it's bad now, you wait about a year or two more as this
We repeal and replace?
health insurance ball rolls down the hill.
Well, it's been rolling for several years.
Well, it's going to start rolling
It's gonna
fast.
roll.
and that's where we're just trying to stay on top of that, looking long-term
Right.
of how the effect is. And actually having the family plan the way that it is a actual tool that can be used to recruit families to our area and take jobs with our area. That is one of the questions people ask us most when they're considering taking a job here, is what does your family plan look like and what do I have to pay?
Mhm.
That's what they look at. And before, they had to pay so much, and we had very few on our family
Right.
plan. And as you can see, I believe it was last year where we saw a little bit of an increase in people that took out our actual family plans from the time before, because, and I actually have one gentleman, I still remember this day, said, this is the first time I've ever been able to take out our family plan, because it's now affordable for them.
Okay.
So that's what we're trying to do, is try to keep that family plan affordable for people and comparable to other areas, and use it as a tool to bring in employees that want to take jobs here.
Mhm. Well, like I said, I think that's just me. You should provide the same benefit dollar for every employee. That's just my take. Just wanted to know everybody know how I feel about it. So everybody on a family plan should thank a person on a single plan for subsidizing their insurance. So, Commissioners, you ready to vote on this? Or
Motion
do you have
to
any, or
approve.
does anyone else have any questions or comments? I'm sorry.
I
didn't
think
mean
we
to take
beat
the
this
whole
horse
floor.
already.
All right.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Blue Cross Blue Shield plan.
Second.
Voting?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Commissioners. And Chairman, can I get you to sign real
You
quick?
sure can.
This is the Delta.
Okay.
Tamara, you say you had 6 different companies bid on this?
Yes, we did.
I'm truly amazed.
It's better than the year before.
Well, with what's going on, I'm,
Okay.
I wonder if smaller companies are not insuring.
trying.
Well, health insurance is so unstable right now because we don't know what the president is going to be able to come up with. I mean, it's going to be a repeal or a repeal and place or replace. I don't know which one they'll be able to get done. All right, thank you. All right. Is that all you had, Tamara?
That's it.
All right, thank you. Now we're ready for Public Works, the guy that spends all the money.
Commissioners. I have 3 little items this morning. The first item, we would like to go out for bids for a water softener for over there at the Justice Center. We have this in our budget. We're just asking to solicit for bids.
We've talked about this. I mean, well, prior to me coming to the board, I remember
Yeah.
having problems with the water, so.
Yeah. I think former commissioner said something about having soft water for the inmates.
Well, I understand it, but it's the plumbing that's become
Right.
the issue. It's not
I know.
the soft water. I mean,
It's right.
It's
I
a cost
agree.
savings.
Yeah,
All right.
I agree.
Didn't we address that issue
Yes.
2 or 3 years ago?
Well, but you just put the money in the budget last
Right,
year for
right.
it.
Right.
We
So
did-
now I'm
we
asking
did
to
discuss it,
Get
Clyde.
bids to put it in. Then I'll come back and ask to award the bid.
Right. He's just going out for bid.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second. Voting?
Aye.
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 Okay.
My second item, the transfer station uses 2 sets of scales.
Mhm.
One scale is in the lower pit that they use to fill the trucks up that they transfer out to Deffenbach. Those scales are kind of sinking, so we remember when I started, we put in some railroad ties
We
to
did.
try to shore it up a little bit. Those railroad ties are now sinking. So what we'd like to do is pull the scales out, put in a nice concrete foundation underneath of them, and then put some new scales back in.
How long will you be down?
I would imagine at least a couple weeks, because it's gonna take 7 days for the concrete to harden. So I'm figuring maybe at least a week worth of work.
So, how do you run the operation now?
I mean, it's in the pit where they transfer the trash to.
Right.
We'll have to figure a workaround.
You just stockpile it and reload it, or load it probably, something like that.
We'll have to figure out.
Okay. I mean, you're not gonna close for 2 weeks then?
No, we can't.
Okay, I didn't think so, but, okay. Any questions?
Yeah, I
Commissioner?
do. I was wondering about when you, and I was waiting to hear this. I did read through your briefing report. So these are all semis that you weigh?
These particular scales, yes. They are, you're familiar with the transfer station, right? And
Well,
how they
I'm
pump it?
familiar with scales.
Well, okay, so these are the 2 scales in the pit where the
So
transfer truck sits.
they're on pivots.
No, they're in a concrete square.
Well, what I'm getting at is why we can't pull the scales out and concrete the area where they're sitting on instead of railroad ties.
That's what we're asking to do. We're
Okay,
asking to pull
and
them out.
I agree to that. So is the scales, just because they're sinking, are they bad? I mean,
From
I know
what I've been
how
told, that-
expensive scales are, and they're very expensive, especially one that weighs semis.
Yes, sir.
These
From what-
scales, these are the scales that really take a beating because they're up there compacting the trash too.
Right. And
So
they're
On-
the
They're
original
compacting the
scales.
trash on top of the scale.
On top of the scales, that's correct. I mean, they take a beating.
Right,
I'm surprised they've lasted this long.
right.
How many years have they lasted?
These are the original scales for the pit. So we opened, what, 96? So,
Well, they didn't have scales right at the beginning. They used to just have to write down on a chalkboard what the weigh-in was, and it was causing some overloaded trucks. And but these scale, like I said, that's why it was never. It should have been when the transfer station was built. It should have been concrete and footings and everything else, but it was cut some corners.
I guess what I'm asking is, then they must have, if they don't have pivots, then they must have load cells?
They have load cells, yes, sir.
Okay, can the load cells not be replaced?
That I don't know, sir.
I think they have been replaced.
They can be replaced.
We had some water issues one time. And
Yeah, they
Still
were
have water
underwater
issues.
and.
Yeah.
I mean, these aren't.
I think
these
all
aren't.
they did though was shore them up.
We did, and these aren't really what you. These don't have to be checked by weights and measurements, do they? It's the scale that you drive out on, right?
I think they do.
They do. They calibrate them, but I mean,
Right.
they're not really certified because they're just using them as their estimates, so they don't overload the trucks.
Right.
They bill off the scale at the scale house.
Okay.
But
I'm just trying to get an idea of if these are that critical. I mean, they're critical because you don't want to overload the truck. Because if you get stopped by KODT, then they have individual scales that weigh axles, and you get sizable ticket, which we don't want. But I'm just asking if the load cells can be replaced, and if the scale itself is how is the decking?
The decking is getting a little bit rusted because
It's a metal
like
deck
I
or
said,
wooden
it's
deck?
underneath the trucks. There's water getting infiltrated into the foundations, so it's sitting in water a lot. So yes, the scales are seeing into their usable life.
Okay, I guess that's what I wanted you to say.
Yes, they are at the end of their usable life.
My next question is, if they're towards the end of the life, then what are we going to do about the water coming into the scales so this doesn't happen to the new scales?
When we put in specs, we were going to put in concrete foundation with sump pumps.
Okay.
So that the water will funnel into the sump pumps, and then the pumps will pump it out.
Okay.
Where did it go?
They'll put it into a holding tank for a little while because it's not clean water.
you have any
Okay.
other questions, Commissioner?
No.
So we need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve go out for bid for replacement of lower pit scales at the Leavenworth County Transfer Station.
Second.
Voting.
Aye.
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 And my final request for bid this morning would be the salt dome out at the shop. There are several shingles have been blown off over the last couple of years. We replace shingles every year on it. We're asking to re-roof the entire salt dome with a high wind, steep angle shingle to help them from blowing off in the future.
And you budgeted for that last year.
Yes, and
Yeah,
these were all budgeted.
These are budgeted items, and you have it says here the fiscal impact to Leavenworth County is $40,000.
Yes, sir.
And that's what your estimate is that
That's
it will
my
cost.
estimate. Yes, sir.
So is that a pretty firm estimate so that what I'm going for here is you're saying $40,000, say it comes in at $50,000.
Would we still have the funds for that?
Right.
Most likely.
Okay.
Or you could go down the grade of shingle.
Well, that's
That's the problem we got now.
That's the problem we got
Right.
now.
Yeah, it needs to be.
so.
That's an odd building.
Yeah, it is. That's all the questions I have.
Commissioner, you have any questions? Commissioner Graber?
No.
Motion to approve the replacement of the salt dome roof at the Leavenworth County shop.
Second.
Voting.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Anything else?
all I have for this week.
I hope so.
I'd say
That was
that's
enough.
plenty.
We couldn't afford you in here every week.
Well, here comes David.
All the money.
This is big money.
No, this is,
Oh, this is
Driveway
not.
variance,
Oh, this is
okay.
the driveway.
you trying to pull it up on the screen? Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I have a request from a property owner, Mr. John Evans, lives at 15301 Roger Road, for a second driveway to his property. Mr. Evans contacted Public Works late May requesting another entrance onto his property. He was told at that time that policy only allows one access point per parcel. A couple weeks ago, Mr. Evans came into the Public Works office asking about a variance. I directed him upstairs to come meet with the board to make that request. In your packet, you should have had a sketch that was provided by Mr. Evans on what he wanted to do. His parcel of ground is approximately 1.45 acres. As you can see,
Did I read that right? You said 1.45 acres?
Yeah.
correct.
Plat.
That's his parcel size. This
It's
is in the old town of
the old town of Fairmount. The plat was in the 1800s.
I was
wasn't it?
gonna say, man, that's
No,
a small.
no, it was platted, but it was probably before Kansas was a state.
Oh,
So, a plat's a plat.
a plat's a plat, but,
Very small lots.
yes. I
Very small.
would swear you're living in Chicago.
Well, it's about as close to the city
Yeah,
layout as you can get.
yeah, it is.
So it is, city of Fairmount.
Right. That's true.
It's a town. It is platted like a town.
So currently, approximately 18% of his lot is covered with driveway, shop, how the additional driveway would increase that to about 22% covered of his parcel. County
So-
policy is limiting one type.
So
The
this
briefing
is,
report has it cut out of the county policy in it.
yeah, I read the county policy and it shall be limited to one access point to the roadway.
This really isn't agriculture either.
Right, no. So the dimensions of this piece of property is 210 by 300?
Correct.
No, it's not that big, is it?
Well, I think that's, I assumed,
Yeah, it's
because of the
210 by-
parcel
Oh,
size
okay,
of
yeah, yeah, yeah.
1.45
All right.
acres
There's
is
an
210 by 300.
So
There's a
I'm looking
vacated
at an
road right
easement
away in
through there. When you get that much covered up, would Public Works approve him to pipe the whole front of his place like a storm sewer? With it,
Since we are responsible for the maintenance and replacement of those pipes, no, we would not recommend that.
okay. So I guess what's before is if we're going to grant a variance. I mean, we've granted variances on agriculture many a time.
But this is not agriculture.
That's correct.
And I just can't see it with such a small, tiny acreage of 1.45, which it's against our county policy, and I would lean on doing what staff has recommended.
You have any thoughts, Commissioner Graber?
Well, I'm looking at the map from the overhead, the way I look at it, he's got about the widest driveway in
Right.
that area.
And I'm sure the applicant's concern is, I'm sure there's other lots that have 2 driveways, and they would have been before this policy,
Right.
correct?
Yeah, there's some that.
There's several of them that did, I know
There's
that,
several out here that do, and then you also have several that you can see where they split off.
and go to another
Yeah,
building.
where they only have one, and then they split it off to go to their.
And that was the intent of your policy, I'm sure. And what was the reason for another driveway needed, do you know?
I believe it was to park a camper, I believe it was, he wanted to park next to the existing garage.
Is the applicant here?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Is that correct? You're like a sort of a recreational vehicle you wanted to park beside the other building? Or-
The east side of the shop, I have a 37-foot RV,
Okay.
and it's very complicated. Even at the width of my driveway, it's very complicated to maneuver. The driveway itself would only be 12 feet wide.
Would be what?
Driveway through the final 2 trees would be only 12 feet wide. We've already had a contractor come out and assess it, called the 811 number. There are no gas lines, water lines, power lines, anything underneath that side of the property.
Any thoughts? Like I said, I mean, we've granted them for agriculture, but this isn't ag. For
This is not ag.
If I may also say that there are other properties that have been granted variances recently on in this little area of land that were allowed a second variance, or additional variance rather. Because I was there, I've only lived there for 4 years, and I saw it built along with the second building down the road from myself on Roger Road.
I'm not. Do you remember any of that?
No.
I wouldn't have been here.
No, I don't remember any of that.
It's
That's a
just
possibility they could have put it in
is a
themselves without
possibility.
authorization.
Yeah. Well,
You entertain a motion?
yeah.
I'll entertain a motion to deny this application for a second due to the fact that Leavenworth County states the following in the policy. So I would make the motion to deny this request.
Question just for me. He could add to the turnaround area within his property and use the same entrance, couldn't he?
Correct.
Right.
He could make the driveway on his property wider without cutting.
Second.
All right. Just one more question before we vote on this was, could he extend his driveway to?
We have
Say
maximum
two.
allowed width,
Right.
I believe it's 24 feet.
So,
I think he's probably close to that.
yeah. Well, I mean, you could apply for variance, maybe to extend it 10 feet or something, correct? If that would help get in now, your existing driveway, making it a little wider.
I think in 24 foot, maximum.
Yeah, but I mean, that would be another variance, and we've allowed it on
Right.
once again, agriculture.
Agriculture, yeah.
We've allowed
And
it on
because they
agriculture.
had big machinery
Right,
to turn
right,
in the
right.
driveways.
But on this, it'd be,
And on this is,
okay.
Well, that seems like a more logical approach to meet the current regulations and
Right.
still give him the ability to do what he
Right.
wants to do.
He can do what he wants after it gets off the right of way. So, all right, we got a motion and a second. Voting?
Aye.
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 Have any updates before we adjourn on any projects, David?
Nothing in particular.
207 still,
Yeah, they're about done with grading work. Hopefully in the next week or so, they'll start laying base rock.
okay.
Based on weather reports, we should have some good weather in the next few weeks.
I noticed that we're moving forward, I guess we're going to be moving forward on 179th dust abatement. It was in the minutes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And do you know when that's going to happen?
They should be shaping it this week, and once that's done, I'll contact Scott Wood and let him know.
Okay.
I don't have an exact date for.
Did you,
Okay.
were you aware that we got some problems on the property acquisition?
No. Well,
Prob-
yeah,
it's
it's gone to
probate.
court, yeah.
But it's more complicated than that. It's,
Oh.
I guess for one of the properties is in a probate situation.
Oh, yeah, I did know that.
So that's,
That makes a difference.
that's why we kind of went with the dust control, because this is probably not going to be as fast as just a regular condemnation.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't.
Has legal been
Yes,
advised of this and they
absolutely,
are
yeah.
working
They're the
on
one
it?
that brought it to our attention.
Okay.
So that was the reason for that,
Yeah.
because
I
it's
didn't-
not gonna,
I didn't know I knew the lady was elderly, but I didn't know she had passed.
and I'm not sure. I just know it's in probate, so I'm assuming, so.
Well, you gotta wait till it comes out.
Right,
of
well, yeah,
probate.
we gotta let the
Court
courts
system.
take its course, and so we pretty much come to realization it's not happening this year.
I think
Possibly utilities.
I think we kind of indicated that at the last meeting when the one woman spoke.
Right, okay, so, any other business? Then, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, voting.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.